Hi everyone. In my experience of teaching art, if I had to choose one thing that all my students have been scared of painting is portraits. So I thought as I'm doing my Back to Basics series, let me start a new series on Back to Basics with portraits. So I am going to do a series of videos that will be based on portraits, starting with do's and don'ts of painting a nose.
The first thing to do when you start painting noses in any medium is to start off with a very good drawing. And in this case, a lot of the drawings will not even be visible on the canvas surface, but you will still get the feel of it. And the most important thing I want to highlight is that when you are starting off as a painter or starting off portrait painting, the most easiest thing to do is get a good reference photo. You may have seen noses all your life, but when it comes to painting, it's a different question altogether. So now I'm primarily starting with working with acrylics, as I am working on the things that you are not supposed to do. So even though if you can start off with painting your noses or any features for that matter in a portrait with the dark colors and an outline, remember that you can never leave the outline just like that by itself. You will have to blend it in. Another key thing that you should never do, and a lot of people do when they're starting off as in portrait painting, is that mix a couple of different colors, mid-tone colors, and apply them side by side as dark and light, and try to get the different values for the nose. Any feature of the face has a lot of different values, starting from mid-tones to highlights to a lot of tones in between. So any particular shade will not work. And once again, the outline thing does not work. It only works if you're trying to create pop art or cartoons. So that is something that you should always remember. Now I am moving on to what things that you are supposed to do in while painting a nose. You can see that I am first drawing out the dark outline, and it does not matter that I am starting out with an outline, because slowly I will be adding a lot of mid-tones, highlights, adjusting the shadows, darks and lights, and as I do that I will lose all my outlines, which is my target. In any kind of portrait painting, skin painting, any feature of the face for that matter, the key colors that I use to mix skin tones, no matter what kind of skin tone it is red, blue, white, and yellow. And mixing this in different proportions can give you a wide variety of skin tones, no matter how light or dark you're wanting to go. So that is a starting point. Now you can start off with any mid-tone color for that matter, and then keep adjusting your values according to your reference photo or a model that you're using for your portrait painting. You can see that I just started off with a pale flesh tone that I mixed, and then I am adding more and more darks around the area and adjusting my darks and lights. And I will do it several times, and you will see that it will soon get into a very ugly stage. I will continuously add outline-ish lines, and then it will get darker and lighter till I get to the level where it looks like a nose. It reaches to my point of satisfaction. So under the nose is probably the darkest area, so you've seen that I have added a shadow in that area. Now starts the ugly stage of the painting, where I have lost all the lines, which I actually wanted to, and it looks like a dark dirty smudge of colors and nothing else. And when you're starting off portrait paintings, a lot of times painters give in at this point, thinking that they have ruined the painting, which is not at all the case. This is a part of the process. The ugly stage is a part of the process. You just have to continue painting and putting in your values right, adjust your darks and lights, and get your shadows and your highlights right. And When you do that, your painting will be completed. So never ever leave it thinking that your painting is ruined. It is never ruined. It is just abandoned. So you can always work on it several other times and get it to where it would reach your satisfaction. I'm adding some more colors around the nose. And remember, the nose is probably the highest protruding part out of your body. So the tip of the nose will have the lightest of highlights as its brightest points where the light hits first, and whereas the other areas of the nose will be a little bit lighter. um, However, around the nose, the skin will also lighten. Just beside the bridge of the nose, yes, that would be the darkest area probably. But apart from that, very close to the cheek, you will see that the skin starts lightening back up. Because again, on the tip of the cheeks, and or rather on the top of the cheeks, the light hits off, and so you get lighter colors. I am darkening the bottom of the nose or the underside of the nose, and I always add a little bit of reddish tinge to the nostril because I always see that brings a very realistic look to the noses, and adding in some highlights. At no point of time in the painting I am using any color straight off the tube. Even for the highlights, when it is looking like I'm using white, I'm not using white. I'm always mixing in some yellows or pinks with the whites to tone it down. Even for the tip of the nose where it looks like a very bright white, it is not a white. So there we come to the point where we can see the difference between the things that you're not supposed to do, like while painting a nose, and the thing that you want to do while painting a nose. Now the final part of the painting, where I am going to show you the cross painting of the cross section of a nose, which starts with a pretty much triangle shape. And then after outlining the basic shape, I am filling in the entire shape of the nose with a mid-tone shade. Once again, the color really does not matter at this point. At this point, all you want to do is start off with a mid-tone and then adjust the lights and darks. Apart from the do's, apart from the very first demonstration where I was showing you what not to do while painting a nose, everything else in this painting is done in oils. And I am mixing in acrylics and oils for these demos just because I want to show you how they work pretty much the same. The principles, basic principles of application of paint, darks, lights, everything works pretty much the same. It's only a difference in the drying time, I would say, is the most important difference while using oils or acrylics. And you can see that after I have put in my mid-tone, I am coming back with a lighter shade and lightening up the areas of the bridge of the nose and around the nose, the skin areas. And slowly you can see that I'm building a range of values, adjusting the darks and lights and getting to the right point. Like I'm doing this nose painting, I'm also going to come up in the next few weeks with eyes, ears, hair painting, as well as mouth painting, so that you get a whole idea of a portrait painting before I get on to portrait painting details. So more of the adjustment of the colors. You can see that even though I have adjusted the colors, added values, gotten some lights and darks, I've still not added any bright highlights because I like to save those bright highlights for the very end of the painting as the finishing touches. I am now adding some of the darker areas, making the darks more prominent underneath the nose as I painted in the previous one. I'm going to add some reddish tinge in the nostril areas as well. Once again, that gives it a realistic look. Now comes the highlight parts, adding in some real white highlights. And this part of the painting I did in real time to kind of show you how I apply the brush and use the same brush, and different brush strokes create the right look using the same brush in different ways. Almost the entire painting has been done in a small flat brush. I believe it is number 3, and I have just used the detail brush once or twice to add in some highlights, and sometimes to manage some details. And with that, I almost come to the end of the painting, and at the very end I will show you a side by side comparison of the different noses that I painted today. I hope you liked it. Tell me in your comments what else would you like to know about painting noses, and I would love to answer your questions. And do not forget to hit the like and subscribe button. And there you can see I'm still adjusting some of the details. Another thing I wanted to mention at this point is that I am working on a canvas paper here, and that is why you can see a lot of textures on the surface of the paper. What I have done is I have taken a canvas paper and stuck it to a drawing board using a painter's tape, and then toned the paper down with the burnt umber acrylic paint before I started painting. I always like to paint on a toned surface instead of a white surface. That helps me not having to fight against the white of the color, and helps me judge my values better. And also, as for the canvas paper, it gives you a lot more texture. For some kind of portrait painters, textures they bother them a little bit, and they don't like to paint on a smoother surface. The best possible solution to this is to go for a linen surface, a linen canvas paper, or a linen fabric, or just canvas with a linen surface. That's the smoothest you can ever get. Belgian linen is probably the best, but again, that comes with a price tag. So if you don't want to go for it, and if you're just practicing, regular canvas paper is a good option. Not worry about the texture so much. It still looks pretty much as good as you want it to be. I'm still adjusting the lights and darks. So keeping it in real time kind of gives you an idea how much time it actually takes to paint a portrait, and getting the features right, the values right. And that was my core intention. You can see I'm adding some of the bright highlights. Just like for the front view of the nose, it looks like I'm adding just white straight out of the tube for the bright highlights, but it is not so. I'm still mixing in some of the lighter colors of paints of yellow and pink with it to tone it down. There are certain cases that you would use white paint straight out of the tube, but that is definitely not very often. So there are the do's and don'ts side by side as we come to the end of the demonstration. I hope you definitely learned a trick or two from this demonstration. Let me know your thoughts, and thank you for watching.